So let's make some disappearing blocks. I am going to be starting with a 9 patch. These are simply squares that are probably 5-inch squares is a nice place to start, and I've sewed them into a 9 patch. What I'm doing right now is I am folding them and finger pressing them so that I can get that those middle lines will be my cutting lines. You can take this to the sewing machine as well, and you can also measure this very carefully. I like to kind of do both so that I can make sure that I have that cut in the center of the block. Now I'm just going to turn these around so I can do the same block again, same cut again. And this is going to give me, let me move it so you can see it. This is going to give me 4 pieces, 4 units that I can now rearrange into a different block. It's a way of making a block that's very creative, very more complex, but doing it in very simple ways. So you can see my 4 units. Now let's take these units and let's rearrange them so we have something a little more interesting. Okay, so here's one variation. Now you can see how different that is from the first one. We're simply going to sew those pieces together and they make that block. Let's try something different. Now remember, we started with a 9 patch, and now look what we can do. We can have this nice solid square in the middle with some outer sashing and squares. Now what's fun is if you do a bunch of these together, you're going to get a whole nother secondary pattern. So let's see what else we can do with this particular pattern. So you can see this is where we started, 9 patches. How about if we move it around like this? Now this is a very unusual looking block on its own, but when you sew several of these together, you're going to get, again, another secondary pattern that's going to be very cool. So you'll want to definitely play with this and see what are the different combinations that you can use with these patterns. So let's see if there's another combination we can do with these. Let's see. I think what we're going to do next. So let me show you this. So this is a way to make a very simple pattern. But again, we started with just a simple 9 patch. Now you can see how making 2 slices, rearranging it, you can make a full quilt of these larger squares, smaller squares with sashing. Now we're going to start again, and we're going to do different types of cuts into the block this time. And it's going to give us different types of units. So I'm going to show you, we are going to be slicing this block 4 different places. Halfway through the row on the left. Now I'm cutting halfway through the row on the right. I'm now going to the bottom row. I'm going to make a slice here in the middle of these blocks. And I'm just going to be really careful because now that I've made those other slices, it takes a minute for me to get this, make sure I have it accurate and lined up. Just like so. And then again at this top, I'm going to do the same thing. And this time I'm going to move over to the other side of my board so that I can make that cut. I have an island that I work on, and so as a cutting surface. So it makes it easy for me to move around the board as I'm cutting. And so after we make the cuts, now we're going to separate the units so you can see them. So you can see there's a lot more units this time because of how we cut it. That's going to give us the opportunity to do some very interesting things with this block that are very different than the last one. Okay, so let's move some pieces around. This is where the fun is. You get to really move some things around, shift a few pieces side by side to see what we come up with. And now I can see where the spaces are that I can put our corners into. And then here is one variation. Now, look how different that looks. It's very fun. Again, when we do several of these, you get this cross in the middle. So give this technique a try. There's many different ways you can put these blocks back together.